Do you guys know what's the knife of three virtues? And if you guessed Santoku, you're 100% correct. The three virtues is slicing, dicing, and chopping. And today we're going to be doing our 6 months review of the Misen Santoku. Okay, so before we get started, there are quite a few of you guys who have asked me before, hey Raph, how can we help support the channel, whether it be donating monetarily, donating material for reviews, or even some people offer to loan me their knives or gear for me to review. And I just want to say a huge thank you for those of you guys to offer such generosity and kindness to me. Truly, that means the world to me. That means so much to me. And just a very sincere thank you for those of you guys who have asked and offered. But to answer your question, I've added a support the channel button right there on the home screen. And also we sell merch. This is actually one of the hoodies that we sell. And you can find all the detail on how to purchase merch down in the detail below. And for those of you guys who are not afraid to loan out your gear for review, you guys can shoot me a DM and we can talk more about it, or send me an email. But either way, there's no obligation whatsoever. It is just answering a question that you guys have asked. Just your support from your views, your subscription, your comments, your kind comments, your funny comments, all the great ideas that you guys have given me means the world to me as well. So, like I said, never an obligation. Let's get started. Now, quick disclaimer, Misen to send me this knife completely free of charge. However, they're not paying me for these videos or reviews. They understand that all of my feedback are 100% honest and it will be unbiased for my viewers. So for this 6 months review, we want to take a look at the following. We want to take a look at comfort, we want to take a look at usability, we want to take a look at maintenance, performance, and edge retention. So first off, let's go ahead and start with comfort. So it's a known issue that the spine and the choil for the Misen knives are a bit on the sharp side. So when you have a sharp spine and sharp choil, when you choke up on the knife with a pinch grip, it tends to dig in and it's fairly uncomfortable. So as soon as I got the Misen knife, because I've owned the Misen chef knife before, I instantaneously crowned the spine and also rounded off the choil, which I can teach you right here in this video. It is a very simple process, very easy to do. Just takes a little bit of elbow grease, but it is a very easy fix. Outside of the sharp spine and the sharp choil issue, the handle is very comfortable. It fits very good in the hands. The weight is very nimble. It's not a very heavy knife. Now the balance will be handle heavy, especially for it being a Western style handle. It tends to be a little bit heavier on the handle side, so that's kind of expected. But as you can see, the balance point is still right here at the bolster. Next, we'll take a look at usability. So there are certain kinds of knives that are very task specific, like a fillet knife or a peeling knife and things like that. They're very task specific and it corners it into a specific category and it kind of limits its usage. Where I like the Santoku is because it is a very general purpose knife, an alternative to a chef knife. So for those of you guys who don't want to compromise blade height, but like a shorter blade, I think the Santoku is a very good choice. Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about is performance. So the performance of this knife is really, really good. The reason this knife performs so good is because it has such a thin edge geometry. This blade is extremely thin. And this thin blade glides through food like none other. There's no wedging. It just blows right through the ingredients. But a word of caution as always, with a thinner blade, especially one this thin, you'll want to be careful when cutting through tougher ingredients, and definitely don't cut through bone or frozen ingredients. Now, if I do have to pick between the Misen Santoku and the Misen chef knife, and I must pick one between the two of them, I'm going to have to go with the Santoku because I just like that the blade is a little bit thinner, and especially the tip of the knife is definitely a lot thinner for the Santoku, which makes the horizontal cuts, flicking through an onion or shallot and things like that, a lot easier, whereas it's a little bit tougher with the chef knife. So yeah, if I have to pick one between the two of them, it's definitely going to be Santoku. Now, if I have to compare the performance of this knife to something else, I'm actually pretty confident to say that this knife's performance is fairly on par with Japanese manufactured knives, such as the Tojiro DP line, which has a VG10 steel. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is maintenance. One major thing that I noticed since Misen has switched over to the Oz 10 steel, Even though Oz 10 is a stainless steel, it tends to be a little bit more reactive in comparison to the original Oz 8 steel. So what that means is that even though it is a stainless steel knife, it tends to patina and kind of, I don't want to say stain, but it just kind of develops a patina along the way while you're using it. It doesn't develop a patina like a carbon steel knife would, but it still kind of brings on a little bit of a patina that you'll notice as you use the knife. So if you guys are looking for something that is going to stay shiny all the time, I'd say you will want to keep it dry. And after you cut certain acidic ingredients and things like that, you'll want to keep this knife rinsed off and wiped dry. So like I said, Oz 10 steel reacts a little bit more than Oz 8 steel, but it's a bit of a performance and edge retention trade-off. And speaking of edge retention, that's the last thing we're going to talk about. So let's talk about edge retention. Now I want you to keep in mind that this knife was in rotation with several other knives that I'm also trying to review for the past 6 months. So it's been in rotation. So in comparison to someone that's using this as their main knife, every single day, there is going to be a little bit of a difference in comparison to what my edge retention would be. And also there are other variables that you're going to have to take a look at and think about, is how much I'm cooking in comparison to someone else. Maybe I'm cooking more, maybe I'm cooking less. Maybe they're cutting ingredients that's tougher than mine. Maybe I'm cutting ingredients that's tougher than theirs. So these are all variables, but this is my personal experience with the edge retention for this particular knife for the past 6 months. So this edge on here is still the same factory edge that came fresh out of the box, and I've maintained it for the past 6 months on a knife steel instead of a strop, because I find that anything less than a 60 Rockwell hardness tend to be a little bit easier to maintain on a knife steel. And as you guys can see here, standing paper test. All right, this is freshly honed on the knife steel. As you guys can see, this thing is still razor sharp. Now I find this Oz 10 steel very easy to maintain, just like the chef knife. The edge is very easy to maintain. Like, this steel is very, very user friendly. Whenever you lose that hair popping razor sharpness, you hit it a couple of times on the knife steel, a couple of strokes, and it brings back the edge fairly well. And this is still, like I said, after 6 months, this knife is still razor sharp. Now for my chef knife, I finally did have to put a new edge on the knife, so I touched it up on the whetstone. It's just a 1K raw leather strap, no compound, very, very easy to sharpen. The Oz 10 steel with the 59 plus or minus 2 Rockwell hardness was extremely easy to sharpen, just only a few minutes on a 1K stone, and it brought back a razor sharp edge. Okay, so this wraps up our 6 months review of the Misen Santoku, and this knife definitely gets a thumbs up from me, and I hope you guys like the video. If you guys do like the video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. It'll help me support all of this madness, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.